What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the FF Ballbusters podcast. Thank you for joining us. We are recording this on Monday morning, July 3rd. Crazy that we're already in July. Time is flying. My name is Eric. That's my co-host, Will. How you feeling this morning, man?
Dog, I'm feeling pretty good, man. I'm excited about this episode because this is going to be a pretty fun one. It's a little eccentric for us, so I like this one.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a lot of fun with this one. I hope you all have fun with it as well. We're talking some bold predictions today. It's really our real predictions. We're not going too far outside the box, but I don't know, some tiebreakers. We went with the more bold picks. So I'm very excited to get into that with you guys. But real quickly, before we get into all of that, if you are enjoying the content, if you like this video, please leave a like, hit subscribe, notification bell, leave a comment, all that good stuff. It helps us out a ton. We respond to all the comments. So if you have any questions, agree, disagree, any of that stuff, drop it down below and we will answer you. We also have our Discord linked in the description below. If you're interested in getting into an even deeper conversation, you can talk to us, talk to some of the people in the community. We're trying to make better Dynasty and redraft fantasy players every single day. So join us over there. And lastly, we have a bunch of links to our sponsors down below, also in the description, with some discount codes if you're looking to get some sweet deals for things like Dynasty Owner, Underdog, League Winners, and Do Numbers. So go check all that out. Support them, support us, and that would be very, very much appreciated.
Absolutely.
So, thank you for sitting through that, but let's get into this bold predictions video. We will start with the division winners for every single division in the NFL. I say we start out in the NFC and go to the NFC West. You cool with that?
That's insane because that's the first thing I have written on my list.
Oh, let's go.
That's
We're
insane.
in sync.
Yeah.
We're in sync today. All right, bet. Will, kick us off.
So for the NFC West, after a lot of thinking, the teams obviously here, Rams, Seahawks, 49ers, and the Cardinals. Out of those four, I went with the 49ers to win this division. I think it's just Kyle Shanahan has proved he doesn't even need a quarterback, really, to win this division, and he's done it repeatedly. And the only real threat I feel like they have is the Seahawks here, which is a good threat. But I feel like the 49ers, in terms of defense, in terms of what they can get done on offense, the addition of Christian McCaffrey, obviously their weapons group is amazing. I just think they got too much firepower to not end up on top in the NFC West because they've proven they don't need a quarterback, really.
Yeah, I think that probably makes the most sense. And I think if I were truly betting on this, putting my own money down, that's probably who I would go with. We did say these are our real predictions, but if we had like a kind of a toss-up, and in this case I did go with the Seahawks here to win this division. I thought Geno looked great last year, and I'm hoping that kind of level of play continues. They added some serious weaponry on the offense with JSN and Zach Charbonnet. I really do think JSN is going to open up this offense quite a bit. Obviously, it gives them a dependable slot option who's great after the catch. I think it allows DK to go more into that high A-dot field stretching role. They added to the defense as well with Devon Witherspoon to play opposite Tariq Woolen. So I think they do have some firepower as well. And hopefully the stability at quarterback, which the 49ers are lacking, allows them to get over the top.
No, I like that a lot. Like I said, I think it's a toss-up between these two, and it's going to be a great matchup the whole year. I think seeing them play twice a year is going to be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so the next division here I have on the list is the NFC East, our home division. Let me know what you got here.
This one was kind of the easier one for me. We watch a lot of NFC East games. Obviously, we're Commanders fans, and I did not put the Commanders on here.
No.
The answer I put is the people who went to the Super Bowl last year, the Eagles. I just don't really see them slowing down in any way. Their team only got better in the offseason, especially with the addition of all the rookies they got in the draft. They added DeAndre Swift through trade during the draft as well. It's just hard to see a world where any of the teams in the NFC East can really stop the Eagles. So for right now, it's them until somebody else kind of pops up.
Yeah, I'm in full agreement with you. I do think it'll be another slugfest because it's always
it's always
slog in this
ugly.
division. Absolutely. I think the Cowboys have a good shot at it, but yeah, I picked the Eagles as well. They do lose Isaac Seumalo, one of their good right guard. But they're still projected to be the best offensive line in football. They lose Miles Sanders, but replace him with Rashad Penny and DeAndre Swift, like you mentioned. And then the icing on the cake, which you also talked about, the Georgia boys in the draft with Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, and Keely Ringo. I think all of them can be impactful year one, along with Sidney Brown, also added in the draft. And it just makes their already incredibly stacked defense even more fearsome. So, yeah, until somebody else really steps up and is able to unseat them, they're not going anywhere.
Absolutely.
All right. 2 divisions down. Let's go to the NFC South in interesting division. Maybe not the best football being played down in the NFC South, but yeah, I'm interested to see who you pick here.
So this one was kind of, I'm not going to say it was easy for me, but just taking a look at all the rosters, taking a look at all the movement, seeing who's actually been together as a team the longest, I went with the Falcons here. They were a sneakily good team last year. They won a lot more than people expected them to. Arthur Smith, as much as I hate what he's done with that team, he has been able to put, as Eric said in one of our previous videos, you want to check that out, we put it out earlier this week. He's very good at putting a team's strengths at the forefront, and that's what he does with this Falcons team. He will run the ball at you until you can't stop it, and he just, with Bijan on the team now, I don't see too many teams really stopping it that often. So, and also every other team in this division is kind of garbage. The Panthers, obviously they're rebuilding, but you know, they got Bryce Young at quarterback. He's going to probably need some time. This year he could come in and be good, but with the supporting cast around him, I don't really believe in it too much. The Saints, Derek Carr leading last year's Saints. I don't know if that means they're going to be a contender this year. And the Buccaneers, I barely remember their team half the time. Kyle Trask and Baker Mayfield. Do we know who's the starter yet?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's fierce competition out there.
Know.
Yeah, so I'm going to be rolling with the Falcons for that one.
I like it. This one was actually a little bit tough for me. It was really just between 2 teams. I didn't take the Panthers or the Bucs really into consideration all that much, but the Saints and the Falcons I thought were fairly close. Last year, the entire division was separated by a single game.
Yeah.
So that was kind of crazy, and I think it'll be fairly close to that this year again. Tons of offseason moves to talk about for all of these teams, but especially the Falcons. The Atlanta defense brought in Jesse Bates, Calais Campbell, Eddie Goldman, and Bud Dupree. So I think that's going to be huge for their defense, which was pretty poor last year. They were able to retain Caleb McGarry and added Matthew Bergeron to their offensive line. And that's like a top 5 unit in the NFL, really. Like, that's an underrated offensive line group. And then, like you said, they add Bijan Robinson to run behind that. As long as Desmond Ridder can show us anything, like flashes of anything, I think they win the division. So
Okay.
I got the Falcons as well.
Oh, yeah? Hell yeah.
Yeah. All right, on to our last NFC division, the NFC North. Lots of things shaking up here. The Packers have been kind of the reigning champs for a while. The Vikings won last year, but historically, the Packers have been top dogs, but Aaron Rodgers leaves. So I'm curious to see who you go with here.
Oh, man, I went with the pick I wanted to go with. I went with my heart. I didn't check anything else. Went with my heart, and I picked the Lions.
Let's go.
They're one of the most exciting teams in football to me right now. I just love this team all around. They added Jahmyr Gibbs to the offense. Jameson Williams will be back after 6 games this year, so you know he's going to be suspended, but he will play this year. Unlike last year, you know he played towards the tail end. They also added Sam Laporta, my boy, at tight end.
Yes.
I'm loving to see how he's going to develop going forward. They kept Jared Goff, drafted Hendon Hooker as a backup, obviously, so that's whatever that is. But I am excited about this team. I'm excited with what Dan Campbell is doing with this team. I feel like it's heading in the right direction. The defense is building up as well. We saw them play extremely well towards the end of last season, and I'm hoping that rolls forward going into this one because that was really the thing they were missing last year. They were scoring a ton of points to start the season, but they couldn't stop shit. Now, if you get a team that's scoring that many points that's able to at least stop teams a quarter of the time, half the time, that's a dangerous team, and I think the Lions will be able to put it together this year.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm with the Lions, or I'm on the Lions with you. I think the luck for the Vikings runs out this year because last year was crazy. They played in 11 games that were decided by 1 score. They won all 11, like an NFL record amount of 1-score game wins. They had very few comfortable victories and a few blowout losses, which ultimately culminated in a 13-4 record, but a negative total team point differential. It was ridiculous what they were able to do last year, and I just don't see that happening again. So I'm going with the Lions for pretty much all the same reasons that you mentioned.
Hell yeah.
All right, so that rounds out the NFC. Like I said, comment down in the comment section below if you agree, if you disagree, if you got some hot takes, any of that stuff for the NFC. But let's move on to the AFC, once again starting in the West.
Hell yeah. So looking at the AFC West, you know, as much as I wanted to go for the memes and say, you know, Broncos country, let's ride, I just went with the easy pick here. It's the Kansas City Chiefs. It's the team that was rebuilding last year and won the Super Bowl. And, you know, they've got a year of experience now with that team and added some more new pieces to it. So, yeah, it's tough to bet against Patrick Mahomes in this league. As long as he's there, especially as long as he and Travis Kelce are there, I don't see this team not being a problem.
Yeah, I went the same way. I wrote down, how bold can I really be? How crazy is this going to get? Like, the Chargers seem to be the only team with a legitimate shot to dethrone Kansas City this year. And I think maybe they give them a run. Like, I think their offense really has some crazy firepower. They got a chance at it. But yeah, ultimately, I think Kansas City gets it done once again. Super Bowl champs, still have Patrick Mahomes, top 3 offensive line in the league. Sometimes it's just that simple. Like, we're not overthinking this one.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the AFC East. Arguably the best division in football. You agree?
Absolutely. This one was tough, which
It's
is why
crazy stacked.
I just did some nut shit on this one. You want to know what I picked?
I want to know.
I picked the Jets.
Oh, I knew you were going to do it.
I picked the Jets.
You were going to do it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, they added Aaron Rodgers, right? This was a team that was contending. Not even, like, I don't want to say they were contending, but they were a surprisingly very good team last year with what they had going on.
Through the first, like, what, 2/3 of the season, like there was a good stretch where they were first in the division.
Yeah, and I think that's with Zach Wilson at the helm. Zach Wilson, Joe Flacco, and Mike White at the helm. Yeah. And now they've got Aaron Rodgers now. And I was taking a look at last year's games just to see how close their division games were. Every single game was either close or they won, which was kind of like, it was encouraging to see, honestly. Like, obviously, these teams have gotten better since, except for maybe the Bills. I don't know they haven't really upgraded all too much. They got Dalton Kincaid, kind of moved some pieces around and retooled. They got some drama going on right now too. Hopefully they get that together by the season. Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm reading into that a little bit more than other people are probably. But I think the Jets do have a really good chance, especially with that defense with Robert Saleh at the helm coaching. I think that, they went 7-10 last year with a really bad quarterback room.
Like, horrible.
Yeah. And this year they got Aaron Rodgers. Garrett Wilson's got a year of experience under his belt, and he's getting hyped through the roof this offseason. So I'm just really excited to see what the Jets can do. I believe in them, honestly.
I like it. Honestly, not surprised. I felt that coming from you. I wasn't sure where to go here. Like I said, arguably the best division in football. The margin for error for these teams is going to be slim. You talked about the Jets. They add Aaron Rodgers to an ascending offense, a stacked defense, probably the best in the league at this point. I wasn't sure if A-Rod still had enough in the tank to really take down the other juggernauts in this group, so I didn't go with the Jets. Tough to bet against the Bills, who won this division fairly handily last year. But like you mentioned, they didn't make a ton of significant offseason moves that I thought really helped improve their team. The Dolphins, on the other hand, added Jalen Ramsey, Deshaun Elliott, and drafted Cam Smith to take their defense to the next level. And, obviously a lot's going to be riding on Tua's health. But I think if he can stay on the field, their offense is one of the most dangerous in the entire league. And so I'm betting on the Dolphins in the AFC East.
Now, I will add a disclaimer. I will change my team to the Dolphins if Dalvin Cook signs with them. If Dalvin Cook signs over there, I don't know. It's kind of tough to bet against that team at that point.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, you're not rocking with Devon A-Chain like that?
I I am, but I'm so scared.
No, that's fair. All right, so that was an interesting one. Let's go to, unfortunately, a less interesting one in the AFC South.
Yeah, this is
a whole
Jags.
bunch of booty teams. It's the Jags.
It's the Jags.
What is there to say? Even the Texans suck, the Titans suck, the Colts probably won't be very good either. Jags by a million. It's not even a question.
That team is looking absolutely dangerous. I love it. Yeah. Trevor Lawrence should be taking a step up too, hopefully. Even if he doesn't, if he plays the same as last year, it was enough to get them to the playoffs last year. So
yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. Unless Trevor Lawrence gets hurt, unless he has a season-ending injury,
or Anthony Richardson shows up and balls the fuck out,
which I hope happens.
I hope so
too. That'd be
too.
so much fun to watch, but I don't know.
Not likely.
Not likely. All right, let's get to our last division here. Another pretty stacked division, in my opinion. The AFC North, another one that's always a slugfest. No love lost. The hatred is always out in this division.
Yeah.
Who you got?
Ah, man, it's crazy because no matter what I say, AFC North fans are going to hate us for it.
Oh, yeah.
But my answer here, I wanted to go with the Bengals. I really did. I looked at the Browns too, thought about it, but I ended up going with the Ravens.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
I
Let's
believe
go.
I believe in Lamar, and this team was able to compete last year without Lamar. Like they had
Yeah.
Tyler Huntley at the helm for a good amount of it. Lamar struggling with injury last year. He's back fully healthy this year. They've added Odell Beckham. They've added Say Flowers. J.K. Dobbins should be back at 100% this year. Gus Edwards is back. Don't know how much that really means, but he's back. I don't know, man. I like this roster. I like this team. They've been upgrading as well. On the defensive side of the ball, they've been getting better and better as time's gone along. I think they lost some people over free agency, but they've gained a couple cornerbacks in free agency as well.
Yeah, they kind of retooled and replaced who left. Yeah.
So honestly, looking at the Ravens, I like that team a lot. I think going forward, they could end up doing a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah, I went the same way. The same kind of names that you mentioned, Cleveland, Cincinnati, are going to be really, really tough to get through. But I think ultimately Baltimore gets it done. Todd Monken comes in as the new offensive coordinator, and I think is going to bring with him a new look offense for the Ravens that's going to be much more pass heavy than in years past. And I think that's going to lead to some explosive offense. And also to complement that change in play style, also like you mentioned, they give Lamar Jackson the best weapons group he's ever had in his career, with Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman, Odell, Zay Flowers, and J.K. Dobbins, if he is healthy, which it seems like he is. Also, top 5 offensive line to protect Lamar and for them to run behind, so that should be very entertaining to see. And you mentioned their defense historically has been great. They struggled at the beginning of last season, and then they made that trade for Roquan Smith, and it really seemed to kind of change things for them, ups their defense for sure. So I'm hoping that level of play continues on that side of the ball, and I think that should be enough for them to get the dub in this division.
I absolutely agree.
All right, so that rounds out the AFC. Again, drop down in the comments if you like our picks, if you disagree, who you think is winning these divisions. We would love to hear from you guys and chat it up with you. So after we finish all of the divisions, we'll move on to the player awards that will be coming at the end of the season. Do we want to start? I feel like we should end with MVP.
Yeah, it's always like the last award they give out, right? One of the last ones. So yeah, let's start with the rookies.
Yeah, let's go defensive rookie of the year, and we'll go up.
Okay. So for defensive rookie of the year, I kind of struggled with this one. I was between two guys, but I ended up going with the second guy. I went with Jalen Carter on this one.
Okay.
I think that, obviously he's on a great team with the Eagles. He was supposed to be the first overall pick this year. Some off-the-field concerns definitely bumped down his draft rank, but ended up landing in the best landing spot he probably could.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to take full advantage of that. This Eagles team, they really did need a lot of inside presence. I feel like they had it, but it wasn't really an elite inside presence. But I think with the addition of Jalen Carter, it is going to be elite for sure. Between him and Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis, is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Two Georgia boys.
Yeah, those two are going to tear it up, I feel like.
Is Fletcher Cox still there also?
He is, I believe. Could be a cut candidate, though.
If all three of them are there, that's crazy.
Yeah.
They also have Milton Williams, who they added, I think, last year or 2 years ago.
Yep, Fletcher Cox still there.
That team is so stacked.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
And I think he's going to benefit from that. I think he is. I think he's going to be great for them as well. He's one of the draft picks I hated to see that the Eagles got.
Yeah, for sure. I went a little bit less bold. I mean, he's what, second in the odds?
I think so.
Second, most likely. I went with the first. I went with Will Anderson. He's got the best odds at plus 350. I was looking historically, and I do really like Jalen Carter. I think he's set up to succeed, but an interior defensive lineman hasn't won this award since Aaron Donald in 2014. I feel like it's kind of designed for the edge players to be more likely to win it.
True.
Which is kind of why I went with Will Anderson. And also, I think he has more of an ability to shine for that defense, just because he's like one of the only good rushers there, whereas, Jalen Carter is going to be competing with the rest of that great defense around him.
That is true. That is a good point.
Yeah. So Will Anderson and Jalen Carter there for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Let's go to O'Roy, Offensive Rookie of the Year.
See, now this one is tough because I feel like there's a lot of people with a possibility to win it because I feel like Jordan Addison's going to step in and have a lot of volume, so there's a chance he could get it. Obviously, I went with my pick here in Bijan Robinson, but I feel like there's a lot of people who could end up getting it. But I feel like Bijan's going to be super involved early on. He's going to get the work. He's going to get the rushing work. He's going to get the passing work. He's going to be doing it all out there. So unless somebody else is able to come out and put out a great season doing what they do, I think Bijan should run away with it, pardon the pun. But there's some other people I feel like could do it, so I'm excited to see who you got here.
You don't need to be that excited. I also went with Bijan.
Okay.
It's too safe. This
Yeah.
one's the simple one for me. I think, especially if I was putting my own money on it, it would definitely be Bijan. I thought about Anthony Richardson because I really do believe that he's going to put on a show this year.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know that he'll have the passing numbers to really warrant being the rookie of the year. I think he'll probably have a ton of rushing touchdowns. We did another bold predictions video. I guess it'll be 2 videos ago after this one releases, where I talked about the potential for him to break the quarterback rushing touchdown record. I think that is definitely within his range of outcomes. And if he does that, he could certainly push for Offensive Rookie of the Year. But yeah, Bijan in the run heaviest team in the league behind a top 5 O-line, like that's just too scary.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he'll be a lot of fun to watch. Let's go to Coach of the Year. This one, I didn't go with the number 1 odds-on favorite, so hopefully it gets a little bit more interesting. But I'm interested to hear what you have to say.
For this one, I went with Dan Campbell. I think
Okay.
I think the Lions are going to take a big step up. I feel like, last year Brian Daboll got it, and I think, he earned it. He deserved it. I think if the Lions defense had played better and if they, let up less points, I think it would have been Dan Campbell's award, and I think that's what they're going to do this year, to be honest with you. So that's kind of my logic there.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Is he still the odds-on favorite at the moment?
I believe so, by like 50.
He is.
Because I think him and Brian Daboll are up there. And Mike Vrabel's always up there, too.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good pick, and we both picked the Lions to win the division, and so I think that makes a lot of sense with that same narrative. If they're a really good football team, we can see that happen. I feel like the past couple of years we've seen kind of not necessarily like great football teams, but just teams that weren't supposed to be good that overperformed.
Mm-hmm.
Those coaches have won Coach of the Year recently, and so that's kind of where I went with my pick, and I went with Matt Eberflus, the Chicago Bears head coach.
Sounds like a Dr. Seuss character.
Yeah, he does. He's got the 3rd best odds at plus 1,200. One, I believe in Justin Fields. I think he's going to take a big step up. They added a little bit to the offensive line. They gave him DJ Moore, so I think he's got more to work with. Also, I looked into it a little bit. The Bears have the 6th easiest strength of schedule this year. And so I think they do have a pretty high likelihood of outperforming maybe their projection or what people expect them to do record-wise. And I think if they can get that done, then Matt Eberflus has to be in that conversation for Coach of the Year.
No, I completely agree. I think there's a lot of room for that Bears team to turn around, and there's a lot of leeway right now. Like this is a time right now where we find out, I guess, if he is a good coach, because he does have all the tools this time around. You can't really say Justin Fields has zero help this time. So it'll be interesting. Also, pardon the pun, because you said, he's got DJ Moore, so I think he's got more to work with.
Oh.
He's got more to work with, baby.
Didn't even know I did that. Yeah. Let's go. All right. We have 4 more awards to go through. Let's go to Defensive Player of the Year.
Okay, for Defensive Player of the Year here, I went with Micah Parsons. I think in terms of defensive players, what was the argument last year that who would trade who for Micah Parsons and the first? It was like T.J. Watt for Micah Parsons in the first or something like that. People were saying something crazy last year.
I don't know.
I had to look through our old videos because it's somewhere in there.
I do remember us talking about that. That was ridiculous.
Yeah. But I think Micah Parsons this year, he's primed kind of to win Defensive Player of the Year, not just because of the player that he is, but because the team has decided that he's going to fully commit to playing defensive end this year. And I think if he does that for a full season, and we get a full season of him playing defensive end, he's going to be a monster, especially with him putting on some weight in the offseason, getting stronger, focusing on that, and that being his primary focus, because we've seen him almost be Defensive Player of the Year, and his focus is all over the defense. He's everywhere.
Yeah.
So imagine you give him one job.
Yeah. I thought he should have won it last year.
Me
Nick
too.
Bosa got it, who was also deserving. Nick Bosa had a fantastic year. He's a great player. But yeah, like you said, with his position kind of being up in the air, with him floating around the defense, he was still eating every single week. And yeah, I also picked Micah Parsons. He's the best odds-on player to do it at plus 650. And another keep it simple, stupid moment. Like, I think he's the favorite for a good reason.
Yeah, I think saying anybody else would just be, you're getting too cute.
For sure. All right. These ones, I think, are going to be, well, 2 of the 3, I think, are going to be very interesting. Let's leave the 2 most interesting ones for the end.
Okay.
I want to go to comeback player of the year because I think that one's pretty easy.
It's extremely easy. It's the guy who died and came back. It's DeMar Hamlin, 100%. And shout out to him, man, for coming back and playing the game of football. Because if that were me, I wouldn't be back. So that just goes to speak to sort of his bravery in the situation, his courage, and just his overall resilience. Because the fact that he's back out here on an NFL field after literally dying on one. That's insane. We've never seen anything like that. So if somebody else gets it because they hurt their ankle and they came back and played good this year, I just don't see those adding up the same.
Nah, his odds are -500, and the next closest is +2,000. So I think it's pretty well decided, and obviously deservedly so, like you said. Just huge props to him for having the guts to come back out on the football field and do what he loves after such a crazy situation. Props to everybody involved, the medical staff, for keeping him alive. Like, it's insane. But yeah, amazing for him. And we expect him to win comeback player of the year.
Absolutely.
All right, on to the last two here. Let's go with offensive player of the year. I do want to mention, because we have offensive player of the year and MVP left. While this award would often go to the same player, the offensive player of the year, that won MVP in years past, only one player has won both of these awards in the same season over the past 6 years. Just wanted to mention that so everybody understands. But
okay.
that's all.
It's an interesting disclaimer before we start. What are you cooking over there?
I'm not cooking anything. I just didn't pick the same player for both awards. That's all.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't either.
Yeah,
Okay. Cool.
That's it.
All right. So for offensive player of the year, I kind of struggle with this one a little bit because I feel like there's a few different people that could do it. Ultimately ended up going with Christian McCaffrey.
Okay.
I just feel like, the weeks that he was there with San Francisco, we saw shades of the old Christian McCaffrey and some new Christian McCaffrey. And I think, after a full off season of him just sitting with his team, actually getting to practice with the team, getting to know things more, probably getting to talk to Kyle Shanahan more and game plan more, because I'd imagine he's probably talking to the coaches more than the quarterbacks are.
Probably.
I could see Christian McCaffrey having a really big year this year with that kind of experience and just having that kind of knowledge of the offense under him. And then this offense where he's going to be heavily featured. So, yeah, love Christian McCaffrey in that spot. But I'm interested to see who you've got here.
No, I like your pick a lot. Just to kind of list some of the top names, Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase lead the way as odds-on favorites. Christian McCaffrey is third. Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp kind of round out the top five. So lots of receivers on this list. I did go with a receiver. It was tough to choose, but considering some of my division picks and who I picked to win, I went with Tyreek Hill.
I like that.
He had a huge season last season that would have been even bigger. Tua had been his quarterback for, the entirety of the season. I do have the Dolphins winning their division in an incredibly difficult division. So I think if Tua does stay healthy, if Tyreek stays healthy, if they win the division, he's going to put up crazy numbers. They're going to be on a great team, and it's going to be really hard to ignore him for this award. So that's why I went that direction.
No, I love that because he was on pace last year to break that receiving record, receiving yards, all that. And if he had done that, he'd have been offensive player of the year for sure.
Yeah, and he did it with Skylar Thompson, not Teddy Bridgewater. Who else was throwing to him last year?
It was Teddy Bridgewater. Yeah, it was
Teddy
Bridgewater.
Bridgewater and Skylar Thompson for a third of the year. It was crazy.
Yeah.
All right, on to the big shebang. The best award, what you've all been waiting for. Drum roll, whatever. MVP.
So
who's it gonna be, baby?
We were talking about narratives. You went with Tyreek Hill because you picked the Dolphins to win the division. Blah blah blah. I'm gonna stick with narratives too, and I am going to pick Aaron Rodgers.
Oh.
Aaron Rodgers. Who did you think I was gonna go with here?
Nah, I thought we were gonna agree. I'll save it.
No, because I got the Jets winning the East, AFC East.
It's true.
And I feel like if they're going to do that, they kind of need Aaron Rodgers to show up. He's got to perform at those high levels. He said himself he thinks he can win one more MVP. I think he's got to do it this year if he's going to do it. So it kind of all lines up for me picking Aaron Rodgers as MVP. Plus, I think that, last year was a down year for sure. But I don't think it's a sign that Aaron Rodgers himself regressed. I think it was just a sign of the team around him. And, just circumstances. He played injured a good majority of the season as well with that thumb injury. So him coming back healthy this year, having a better team, better coaching staff, and a better defense on his team, I can see him honestly winning MVP, putting up a good season. And I think now he's tied for 6th in terms of the odds. So he's not
Yeah,
too far down the list, but he's not at the top, that's for sure. I think at the top is Joe Burrow and Patty.
Yeah, the list I'm looking at only has the top 5 listed, so he might just be right outside that. Yeah, I could definitely see it. We've had our debates, our back and forth about Aaron Rodgers so far this offseason. That's been a lot of fun. It's definitely something he could do. He's set up for like a fuck you tour this year. Like everybody's doubting him. He had a bad year last year. This is like patented Aaron Rodgers if he were to come out and just totally ball and win MVP again. So I could see it. That's not who I went with for my MVP. I'm putting all my chips on the table with this guy this year. This is my ride or die. I think if you followed the channel, you know who this is going to be. There's no doubt. It's Lamar motherfucking Action Jackson.
Two-time? Do you think he's going to be two-time this year?
Two-time. Call him the two-time.
Nah, being honest, we're talking about fuck you tours. Lamar Jackson's got a big one coming up. Honestly. I feel like he's got one loading up no one's ever seen. People have disrespected that man his entire career.
And they're never going to stop. He's always going to have the haters, bro. He's always going to have He's a long shot at plus 1,600 odds. He's my boy. He's always disrespected. He's got the best offensive weaponry around him he's ever had in his entire career. We talked about the offensive coordinator change. He's finally going to get the chance to air it out and show people he can pass the football. Show people he's a really good quarterback, not just a running back. He's a dog. He's the MVP this year.
Nah, honestly, I love that pick. I feel like if I didn't go with Aaron Rodgers, I feel like it's like I got to kind of stick with my guy too.
Yeah.
But I do love Lamar Jackson. I think that he's been disrespected. It's crazy because looking at like the MVPs and stuff like that, the people who are ranked above him, some of them have never won an MVP or never even really gotten close. But he has one already. And like you said, he's ranked at 1,600, plus 1,600. Kind of crazy when he's got one of the best teams around him he's had his whole career. But hey, you might want to place that bet, man, while it's plus 1,600. You might as well just go ahead and put something down on it.
I think maybe I should.
Yeah, this is the best it's going to be.
Real quick.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay, so that rounds out all of the NFL player awards. This is a fantasy channel. I really enjoyed going through all these NFL awards. First of all, again, hit the comments up if you guys agree, disagree, who your kind of favorite long shots are to win this award. But because it is a fantasy channel, we want to round it out with some bold fantasy predictions for the season. We're going to have one positive one, somebody that we expect to overperform, and one negative one, somebody that we expect to underperform or bust. So I will hand the mic to you.
Absolutely.
First one.
Bet. So for the positive fantasy football prediction, this is what I got. I think Amari Cooper is going to have a career year in receptions, yards, and touchdowns. And I think he's going to have a top 7 finish in fantasy.
Ooh, top 7.
I think he's going to have a top 7 finish in fantasy. I think this is the year that Deshaun Watson kind of gets it back together, knocks off the rust. And if he does, I think Amari Cooper's primed to have a big year.
Wow. Okay. I like it a lot. I mean, that division with the AFC North we talked about is super stacked. You got the Ravens, Bengals, and Browns. But with Amari Cooper putting up those kind of numbers and Deshaun Watson, if you believe that he is going to come back, surprised they didn't get a little shout when we were talking about them.
We've seen Deshaun Watson do really well and also play really well with the receiver and still be ass. But
no, that's true. That's true.
So
that's fair.
I think it'll be a good team, that's for sure. Because like I said, I took a look at the Browns and I thought about it, but I just think that division's going to be really close. I think the Ravens are going to come out on top, but I don't think the Browns are going to go down without swinging. You know what I mean? Same with the Bengals, obviously, because they haven't yet. But
yeah, interesting. I like that one a lot.
Thanks,
I also went with a receiver here for my positive, bold fantasy prediction. I say Calvin Ridley, who is currently ranked outside the top 20 in the consensus fantasy rankings for this year, will finish inside the top 10.
Love it.
This is one where it matches up. Trevor Lawrence is ascending. The Jags are ascending. Calvin Ridley gets added to this team. He's been disrespected. He's been undervalued. He's been missing from football for a year and a half at this point. People are questioning him because, obviously he was suspended for the gambling issue. He sat out for, what was it, part of the season or whatever with the mental health problems. I forget how long ago that was.
Oh, man. That was 2 years ago, and he sat out after week 5, maybe week 6. So he sat out for a good majority of the season, and then he got in trouble during that season and couldn't return. He got suspended for the following.
That was gambling.
Yeah.
And even prior to that, he was dealing with injuries like that. So we haven't seen him in quite some time, but I really do believe he's going to come back and put the NFL on notice, show why he's a top receiver. in the NFL, and yeah, finish inside the top 10 at the position.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. I think the Calvin Ridley disrespect has gotten a little out of control, but I guess it comes with the fact that he hasn't played in a year and a half. So we got to see if he comes back at full strength, but there's been nothing in OTAs or anything like that that's indicated that he's not. So
yeah, absolutely. All right, so those are our positive bold fantasy predictions. Let's finish this with the negative ones. Hopefully this will be pretty enjoyable to hear.
I think Rachaad White's going to be a nobody this year, and I think it's going to be because they're going to sign another running back, guys. They're going to sign like Zeke. They might bring in Leonard Fournette again. It doesn't matter. Whoever it is they bring in, it's going to cap Rachaad White. I don't really think Rachaad White was all that great to begin with, to be honest with you, but
yeah.
I think that's going to cap him severely. I think a lot of people who have Rachaad White, you should probably sell him at this point if you still have him in the offseason, because this is when his price is going to be the highest right now. And it's going to only get lower and lower. So
yeah, couldn't agree more. I'm glad you brought that one up. That's not who I picked. We went with the same position, but yeah, Rachaad White, I think last year was like the least efficient running back of all like qualifying running backs based on the amount of minimum carries.
Mm-hmm.
It was abysmal, his rushing performance. Now, granted, that offensive line was really torn up and banged up due to injuries.
Are they better
so
now?
It wasn't. Not really.
Okay.
Not really. I'm just saying. I'm just playing a little devil's advocate, but I agree with you. Rachaad White, not as good as advertised, and that offense is just going to be terrible.
Yeah.
So, it's going to be tough. I also went with a running back, like I mentioned. Mine is Alexander Mattison. He is currently ranked inside the top 25, and I've seen people hype him up as far as top 15. People saying that he's going to produce the same type of numbers that Dalvin Cook did. People saying he's going to be the workhorse, unquestioned, unequivocal, just bell cow running back for this offense. He's going to finish outside the top 40 at the position. It's like, it's not even close for me, bro. They've already when they got rid of Dalvin Cook, they said it's going to be a committee. I think Dwayne McBride, who they drafted out of UAB, is already better than him, the rookie. Now, I don't know that he's going to get first crack. I think Alexander Mattison has earned that, but I mean, he's got Kene Nwanu, I forget how to pronounce his name. They got Ty Chandler, all these guys that are really nobodies that they're talking about like contributing and taking work from Alexander Mattison already this offseason. This guy's not legit. He hasn't been efficient. It's just, I don't see it happening for him.
No, I 100% agree with that take. The whole he's going to perform just as good as Dalvin Cook. What? No. Like, no, Dalvin Cook is great.
No.
Teams didn't game plan for Alexander Mattison, so he got spot starts. So they didn't really know how to plan for Alexander Mattison because he's on the bench 9 times out of 10. So this year, with the full year of game planning, like you said, he's not going to really do anything. Because even the weeks that Alexander Mattison got to start multiple weeks in a row, his performance always trailed off towards the end of those every single time. And I expect that to be the same throughout the season, except it's going to be way worse.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about it in our last video. We went through like a fantasy busts video. Alexander Mattison was on my list. In the season in 2021 where he got the most volume and the most opportunity, that was his least efficient of his entire career. Whenever he gets the role, like he's the guy, he performs worse. And that's what we're going to see over a full season this year. And I think he's going to be bad enough that he gets replaced or at least has to share a lot of work with the other guys in that backfield.
Absolutely agree.
So that will wrap up the video. Once again, if you guys enjoyed the bold fantasy predictions, let us know your bold fantasy predictions down below in the comments. Join the Discord as well and let us know in there if you guys disagree with what we had to say. Send us the hate. We know it's coming. I'm ready. I'm already ready for it.
I love it. I'm ready.
Real quickly, I want to mention again, all of our sponsors are linked down in the description below. Links to discount codes as well if you're looking for some sweet deals at Underdog Fantasy, at Dynasty Owner, at League Winners, at Do Numbers for all of your cool apparel, t-shirts, hoodies, hats, all that kind of stuff. Look for the discount codes in the description below. But yeah, Will, you got anything else left to say before we get out of here?
Not too much. Just make sure you guys do all that great YouTube stuff. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. That way you know every time we drop our newest videos. Hit that like button. It's absolutely free and the best way to advertise and get our work out there. And like Eric said before, comment and let us know what you think about this video. If you disagree wholeheartedly, if you agree wholeheartedly, let's try to keep it cordial in the comments. But hey, I mean, heat is where it's heat. We know we were going to get some heat for this one. We're ready for it.
We're ready.
Yeah, let them rip. And with that being said, if you guys made it this far into the video, as always, we love you, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Peace.